Ben Shapiro didn't just become famous online, he became unavoidable. For more than a decade, his name has been woven into the fabric of internet politics, popping up everywhere from viral debate clips to podcast charts and cable news segments. Whether people loved him or hated him, he was always part of the conversation. But lately, something has shifted, and to understand why, it's worth looking at how his influence was built in the first place. His rise closely followed the explosion of debate culture on YouTube. Early on, Shapiro's campus appearances were clipped into short, high-energy confrontations that painted him as a fearless intellectual taking on ideological opponents. These moments were designed for virality, not nuance, and they worked. Each clip reinforced the same image: quick responses, confident delivery, and the sense that complex political arguments could be decisively won in a few minutes. That image was reinforced by his background. Born in 1984 and raised in Los Angeles, Shapiro followed a path that emphasized academic credibility, eventually graduating from Harvard Law School. But rather than building a long legal career, he pivoted almost immediately toward politics and media. By his late teens, he was already publishing opinion pieces, and in his early 20s, he had written books attacking progressive ideology. This wasn't a side interest. Political commentary was always the destination. The turning point came when he joined Breitbart and later founded the Daily Wire. With the launch of The Ben Shapiro Show, his reach expanded dramatically. The podcast climbed to the charts, the company grew into a media powerhouse, and his YouTube channel became a central hub for conservative commentary. At his peak, Shapiro wasn't just influential, he was foundational to modern right-wing internet culture. But success on that scale brings scrutiny, and over time, cracks began to show. A major source of controversy has been how Shapiro approaches issues of race and inequality. He has consistently argued that systemic racism is no longer a meaningful force in American society, framing current disparities as cultural rather than structural. In debates, he often leans heavily on statistics, firing off numbers at a pace that makes them difficult to challenge in real time. The problem, critics argue, isn't the data itself, but what gets left out when history and context are removed from the equation. This pattern extends to his positions on social issues more broadly. Shapiro's opposition to abortion is absolute, including in cases of rape or incest, and his commentary on LGBTQ discrimination often minimizes its scope. These arguments are framed as common sense or moral clarity, but they've increasingly collided with documented evidence of ongoing discrimination. As the gap between rhetoric and lived experience becomes harder to ignore, pushback has intensified. Things become even more contentious when looking at his rhetoric around Islam. Years ago, Shapiro argued that extremist views were widespread among Muslims globally, using selective polling data to support sweeping claims. Over time, these narratives expanded to include portrayals of Muslim communities, especially in Europe, as fundamentally incompatible with Western society. While framed as security concerns, these arguments have been criticized for reinforcing fear and dehumanization rather than offering serious solutions. That same absolutism is most visible in his approach to Israel and Palestine. For years, Shapiro has framed the conflict in stark moral terms, portraying Israel as uniquely justified while casting Palestinians as inherently violent. After the escalation following October 7, 2023, Shapiro moved beyond defense and openly celebrated Israeli military actions, dismissing concerns about civilian casualties. This stance, more than any other, marked a turning point for many in his audience. And here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. The backlash hasn't just come from the left, it's come from the right. As conservative politics in the US have shifted toward an America First framework, skepticism of foreign intervention has grown. Shapiro's unwavering support for Israel, including continued US aid and involvement, now clashes with the priorities of a base that increasingly wants fewer overseas entanglements, not more. That tension has spilled into public feuds. Shapiro has openly criticized figures like Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Steve Bannon, and Nick Fuentes, accusing them of enabling extremism or abandoning truth. His attacks on Carlson for platforming Fuentes in particular drew attention because Shapiro had previously defended Carlson using similar free speech arguments. To many viewers, this felt less like principle and more like a breaking point inside the conservative media ecosystem itself. These fractures are becoming visible in the numbers. While Shapiro still boasts millions of subscribers, engagement on his YouTube channel tells a different story. Many uploads struggle to reach view counts that were once routine, and interaction levels lag behind comparable creators. Allegations that his long-form videos are being run as paid ads have only fueled speculation that his organic audience is shrinking faster than it appears on the surface. So what does all of this add up to? Not a sudden collapse, but a slow erosion. The tactics that once made Shapiro dominant, certainty, confrontation, and ideological confidence, are now running into an audience that's more divided, more skeptical, and less willing to accept absolutist narratives. In a media landscape that's constantly shifting, influence isn't just about being loud or confident, it's about adapting. And right now, that's the question hanging over Ben Shapiro's career. Is this just a rough phase in an otherwise stable media empire, or is it the beginning of a long decline brought on by the very strategies that once made him untouchable? Either way, the era where his voice went largely unchallenged, even within his own political camp, appears to be coming to an end.